very special guest today is Oregon Mountain boys basketball coach Rocky Gonzales, whose Knights are now 5-1 after a win against Deming on Tuesday night. Coach, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I should appreciate it.
Yeah, Coach, I felt like last week when at the Academy tournament, which Oregon Mountain won on Saturday with a 66-61 win over the host team, the Academy Chargers, I felt like I was your broadcaster because I did all three of your games. I got to see your team for 3 days. This is a team dropped a 49-46 semifinal against Volcano Vista. Very exciting game last year in the pit. Very exciting. A team that came into this season with a lot of, man, I love your roster. I told you.
Our guys, our kids, I could feel that the confidence coming from them. And just going into the game, we were disappointed at the results, but going into the game, I think that was a great game to have on our schedule. I felt we grew from it. And we're still able to coach up the kids off of that loss. And I think you learn more from losses more than winning, because sometimes you overlook the negative stuff, that the negative habits that might be happening, when you do win. But I'm glad we had that game on our schedule for sure, and it was a great gauge to see where we were at in the beginning of the season.
Personnel wise, you look at personnel. You look at Brandon Karras at 6'6". You look at Unai Wilson, 6'3". Delahousse. You've got some pieces. I've said that. Lenny Washington didn't even play one game last week at the academy. And this is a kid that 2 years ago, when you played Volcano, went through traffic as a freshman and threw down a vicious dunk. This is another kid I think that's underrated, unsung. He's got the ability. So now people are going to ask, man on man, you gave Volcano Vista all they wanted last year. And it's, again, we move forward from that. But personnel-wise, did you feel like, hey, this Lund kid for Volcano Vista, I haven't seen him. I've not seen him. But I heard this kid is a man-child as a freshman, man. Went in traffic last week and yanked on everyone. So I've heard this kid is a phenomenal player. We know Guino is. Coach Brown has his son as a guard. But personnel-wise, it looked like a good matchup for Oregon Mountain.
Yes, definitely. I felt it was a great matchup for us. I felt outside of Aguino, I felt we were at every position. We were bigger at every position. So, going into the game, on paper, it looks like we should be able to get these guys. So, we were comfortable going into this game. We didn't feel like we were going to be outmatched. We underestimated that Lund kid, that freshman. We didn't expect him to do what he did, but I think he was the X factor in the game. We kind of, I don't want to say overlooked him, because we did go to the La Cueva game to go scout him, and we did see that he was a factor in that game. But I felt like if we, try to put a scheme together defensively, we could try to slow. I mean, Aguino, he hurt La Cueva really, really bad. I don't want to say bad, but he was able to get what he wanted inside. And, he's able to knock down open jumpers from the perimeter. And for me as a coach, man, that's a complete player. And then at his size, he's really aggressive at his size. So that makes him, we felt he was the factor that we had. If we could slow him down, we can get him. But the Lund kid, he came out of nowhere, man. That guy was a beast. As a freshman, he's throwing it down, trying to go in traffic. But you're talking about our Washington guy, and, talking about Washington guy, we kind of were expecting some big things from him, and he's coming off of his ACL. So I know hey, coach, my knee I got it re-aggravated. So I know that's where he's at right now with his knee. So, hopefully we can see some more from him down the stretch. But I know this injury's held him back. But hopefully, by the time his senior year, he's back to where he was at before, and, playing a little bit above. I mean, we're going to need him.
Yeah, there's no doubt. He's another one, man. I mean, when you go in as a freshman, you throw down in traffic against a very, all the respect in the world for you too, Coach. Now, after that loss, we move on. We can't let that loss override our whole season. There's disappointment. We thought, as you mentioned, the matchup is at your place. It's fresh in your mind. Last year's only a 3-point loss and great semifinal game at the Pit. That's still fresh in your mind. But we move on. We've got to move on. Short memory. We got to move on. Now, we've got to say this: beats Hope 58-48. A rising Cibola team, 63-51. Coach Gabe Martinez doing an excellent job there.
Yes.
And then the Academy for the championship, 66-61. You beat Deming on Tuesday night. You mentioned Deming down a little bit. But still, 4 wins in a row after that loss. What's changed? Especially the tournament last week at the Academy. Can't say enough about, especially Saturday night, how well your team played. What's changed is, from that loss to Volcano. Now you got 4 wins.
I mean, I'm blaming as a coach. I'm blaming the coaching staff, and and I think the coaching staff is really pushing the boys a little bit more now. And challenging the boys a little bit now. As far for every game, I'm sure you said you were broadcasting the game. We definitely from the coaching staff brought the energy for the kids to feel on the court. We lost our bench. We had gotten technical fouls, so they took away our bench, so we couldn't coach standing up. So we were just going to go ahead and bark from the sideline sitting down. So I think because I think that coaching staff has to bring the energy so the kids can bring the energy as well. Because I've coached some games where I've relaxed on the energy side. And,
very person. I love that guy. Okay. I say that unabashedly because he's all class, first class all the way. But I'm going to ask you this, Coach, because I told you I officiated for 22 years, long time. Now, I'm not going to say it was right. David Montoya, the guy that gave the tease, is one of the best refs in the state. He's one of the best. But I got to ask you this. Now, I asked you this after the championship. It was a much more subdued staff as far as we can argue. I've always said I don't mind coaches asking and fighting for their team. Now, when I said this for me, now everyone's different. If anybody made statements like saying, hey, well, you this or you that, we got a problem. I don't mind questions. So let me ask you this, though. You mentioned you learned a lesson because after that, or at least you changed your tactics. You're still coaching hard, but not so much bothering, because we know we're not going to change calls. I never changed one call, said, I listened to Coach Gonzales, Coach, you're right, I'm going to change that call. We've never seen an official really change the call. We see it at the college and NBA level after replays and stuff like that. We don't have that at the high school level right now. So what changed as far as your approach from the coaching staff for the rest of that tournament?
And I'll put the blame on us. The coaching staff is we're excited. We're all up. I don't want to say the whole game, the whole first quarter, everybody's excited. And, it's starting. So we can't bring as much attention to ourselves, especially from the coaching staff, to anything that's going to hurt the bench. So if 2 or 3 coaches are standing up and a ref an official is asking us to sit down politely and, what about the call here? So, it can escalate quickly. If we feel the coaching staff, we see a call from a different angle, obviously, than where the refs are seeing it. Maybe the referees didn't see it. I used to referee too, trying to make extra money going to college. So I know how it is. Oh, you suck, ref. So I know how that feels. So after hearing that from every game, probably, right, you kind of take offense to some stuff of maybe what coaching staff are saying. But if we can bring less attention to ourselves as far as the standing up part, I think that'll help us after they've already given us 2 or 3 warnings, then to give us the technical or whatever it is. Maybe I'm being demonstrative on the sideline.
Hey, these guys aren't. Maybe this will get them going. They obliged him. They gave it to him. But I thought after that happened, and then Washington was forced to sit out one game because he's right. He got 2 teams. So there's lessons to be learned. I thought, and this from my observation, that I thought the staff, you learned that. You learned, say, like you said.
Definitely.
Let's coach. Let's stay with we can control. Now, there's nothing wrong with asking and fighting for your team. I've never said that. I never wanted to. I used to talk to coaches all the time. Okay, coach. Yes, I'm watching. Yes. As long as the questions were asked in a polite way. And I'm not saying I was always polite either. No one's perfect, right? You mentioned some officials we're all human. All of us are human.
Definitely.
But I thought the change was good because you win the next 2 games and there's no distractions, and hardly you might have mentioned a couple calls here and there, but the staff and you concentrated more on what's going on the court.
Definitely.
Look at the results, because the players, the talent you have speaks for itself. There's no question about it.
Yeah, definitely. Because, we feel like if we can get everybody out there on the same page on our team, we feel like we can beat anybody. But obviously, it didn't pan out for us, the Volcano game. But definitely as a coaching staff, we don't want to bring any negative attention as far as technical fouls, because we felt like, Hope got 7 free throws in a row. Well, they got 4 free throws in a row, and then they came down their ball. They hit a 3, so that was a 7-point swing. So as a coaching staff, we go into the halftime and the locker room, and we're apologizing to the kids. I know I was, just definitely because that 7-point swing, that could have cost anybody the game. Especially from this program.
You learned, though. You know what?
Definitely.
We said that. I said it on the broadcast. That's 7 points right there that I'm sure Coach Gonzales did not want. You don't want to give 3 points away at all. And then they scored out of the inbound, 7 straight points. And that's not what you want to do. Coach, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk more about this year's version of the Oregon Mountain Knights after these messages on the sports desk.
Sanchez all the way to the basket, scoop it in. Timeout, Sandy. Play that West Mason needs to come up with a stop, and they do get a stop. Espinosa on the steal and scores.
Let's see if that gets the crowd back into the game a little bit.
With your fourth running out of time. finds her connection. Boom! Hits it with the 3, and that is Olivia Montano with the
Adams on the outside, gives the ball to Jamil Creighton-Johnson. 3 on the left wing, and that is boom.
NBA range right there.
Castillo, that one's poked away. Otway, dunk! The timeline, 6, 5, 4. Flips it over from way.
Santa Paws has left thousands of holiday gifts for your furry, scaly, and winged family members. Pick up a gift for a pet lover or even a new pet. Clark's has shelves full of pet beds, sweaters, toys and treats, habitats and tanks galore. Locally owned and operated with 2 convenient locations for all your pet needs. 11200 Manal Northeast or 4914 Lomas Northeast. Clark's is celebrating 50 years. Thanks to you, the Christmas Superstore. ClarksPets.com.
What's going on, Lobo Nation? Ja'Cory Krosky-Mir here.
And I'm Devin Dampier. The Lobo football team's going through some changes, but we're here to stay.
We'll put in the work on the field and in the weight room, but we'll need your help off the field.
505 Sports Venture is leading the charge in the NIL space.
And you can be part of it.
First layup, and I know which one, you know what I'm talking about. Right block,
Okay.
went left block. God, that was gorgeous.
Yeah.
Gorgeous footwork, man. You know, reminded me of Al Jefferson back in the day of the Charlotte Hornets. I don't know if you remember.
Okay.
Big Al Jefferson
Yes.
has footwork, man.
Yeah,
And
he
BK, as you guys call him, that kid loves contact, man. I love that. I love the big man to play big. Yeah, you got some foul trouble, you know, and he had to learn to not, you know, I thought some of the fouls, you know, he was straight up, got the fouls called on him. That happens. But I love the power of him. You talked about United Wilson, De La Houssaye, your guard. You know, Jaime Renteria Garcia will come in firing. Dude, Ethan Coombs, unsung. He was a player of the game the first game. Emin McDaniel adds something off the bench. Ethan Pack, I like him a lot. I really do. He doesn't get as many touches as he probably would. Ray Venegas comes in jacking. I like that. I like him. There's not a kid that didn't play this weekend that didn't contribute in some way.
Yeah, that's one thing. We go into the coach's office after games, and you know, for me, I don't want to say it's important to have that, but when you have that, it's an advantage. Anybody can come in off the bench and give us some production, regardless if it's the defensive end or on the offensive end, because you know we really dug into our deep into the bench against Academy because they had some 3 to 4 potent deep shooters where not everybody, you know, we have some bigger guys out there. They might not be able to keep
2 years as assistant coach at Las Cruces Mayfield, 3 seasons at Gadsden, 2017 to 2020, 1 season at as head coach at Mayfield, and then at Oregon Mountain from 2021 to present. Was there anything that, of course, you got to coach there with the legendary George Maya at Las Cruces Mayfield, who I love George. George is one of my favorite people in the whole state. You know, great coach, great man. Was there anything that you know, you were in Mayfield and then the Oregon Mountain job opened up? You had a good position in Mayfield. What intrigued you about the Oregon Mountain job?
You know, when I first went Oñate, Oregon Mountain used to be Oñate. When they first opened up, you know, that's right around the time I moved into town. We were coming from Roswell, and you know, it was the small school. Oñate was the small school in Cruces, and it was Cruces and Mayfield at the time. Centennial wasn't there yet, but now the small school is Mayfield. So I know the number, and Oregon Mountain is the biggest school as far as enrollment and number wise. You look at our gym. I think our gym is the smallest gym. You know, I think because they were at the time when they built Oregon Mountain or Oñate, it was just for the 3As. But now they've grown to we're now 5A, and you're the enrollment wise, we're the biggest school in the city. So, you know, I think that was part of one of the main reasons why I went there. You know, no knock on Mayfield, just to give you an example. And it was the COVID year. So there was probably about to leave those boys at Mayfield because we were pushing and we were going to play against the big teams. But at the end of the day, enrollment, you know, number wise, it's almost 800 more kids over here at Oregon Mountain. So to me, I felt that, I think that we could compete a little bit more with the bigger schools in the state.
In Cleveland, you mentioned enrollment. Cleveland's got a lot of enrollment out there as well. You mentioned Rio Rancho, Volcano, and then Highland, Sandia Valley, Manzano. They suffered. But there wasn't a lot of kids moving in those neighborhoods anymore. The neighborhoods have changed. A lot of people have moved to the west side here in Albuquerque. So,
yes,
you've been there at Oregon Mountain since 2021 and already a semifinal appearance in last year's state tournament. What a game that was against Volcano Vista. You've got Hobbs, Valencia coming up, and Silver, Los Lunas, and then of course district play starts, and you get to see the Holland kid, and
yes,
that's going to be an interesting matchup there. I could see Unai Wilson, guarding him, but that kid, Holland, is like a man child. Of course, his dad Wilson Holland, former New Mexico Highlands Hall of Famer, is a wide receiver. Good basketball player at Alamogordo back in the day, one of the best officials, referees in the he referees college basketball, Pac-12, all million conferences. When I saw Holland that against Trisco, the guy is built. You've seen him. He's like a man child, man. So that's going to be a good matchup. But going forward, you're on a good roll right now. Feeling good about the way the team is playing. What do you need to do to get that blue trophy, man? It was you came up just a little bit. What a game that was. I keep saying that, but it was a low-scoring defensive game. Coach Brown knows how to coach defensive games. So do you. What does the Oregon Mountain need to do to get back to that championship game, or get to the championship game?
I feel like we got to come to play every game. I don't feel like we came to play against the Volcano game. Different people that watch us play over the weekend. Parents, man, if you guys would have played like that to Volcano, we could have beat them. But I blame the coaching staff. It's on me. We didn't bring the energy against Volcano, and the matchups we had, they were the wrong ones, obviously. So hopefully we can adjust, Nick. Yeah, we look forward to seeing them again. Hopefully we could adjust. But there's some good teams that you just mentioned, the Holland kid, that we got to watch out for those guys. Now that we got to see those guys next. Man, he's tough, and he's getting those D1 offers. But we feel like we have a couple of guys we can match up with him as well. So we'll see how it goes for the rest of the season, and hopefully we can get back to that Volcano game again.
He's a tough player, and I watched him against the Trisco. You want to send a double at him. He passed the ball so darn well, and Coach Julian is a heck of a coach. They had good floor balance, and the other guys hit their shots. So, you double at your own risk that night. Now, you want to take the ball out of his hands as much as possible, but he's so darn strong and can split doubles, gets to the rim, yank one in traffic. He actually missed 4 free throws that night. Otherwise, he would have had 50. But defensive-wise, personnel-wise, this is what you did against Academy. They changed the game. They scrambled a little bit when they went to that 3/4 quarter trap. They got back in it. They got back in it. But defensively, you mentioned Joe Jack. That guy will jack from 30 feet. So you got to extend the D. Mask, I told you, Coach Broussard from former coach at Sandia called him unassuming, and he is. But that dude can drive, pass, hit the free throws. But what you did with Jack, I thought was great defensive strategy. On the spin, you set the double. And that I thought that really, I thought your defensive adjustment there really helped win the game.
Yeah, I know the Wilson kid that ended up getting the block, he came into the huddle kind of with some high energy. Let me guard this guy. And, we try to match him up in the fourth quarter. So because we have problem with foul trouble. Guys, are a little bit over aggressive. So I felt like, okay, in the fourth quarter, we can use his length. And he was able to come up with the big block, because if you go back and watch the game film, he was going to hit that shot. He was going to hit it. He was going to fall from it. They were going to tie it up, and we were going to go into overtime. They were their best. So, as from the coaching staff, we got to do our part to get the boys ready to play, and hopefully we can make a good run and we can get back to the pit.
Coach, last week ranked number 6, I believe. This week I didn't see the rankings. You're definitely a top 5 team. There's no question about it. But you mentioned got to take care of things here, there, coaching staff. You got to, you mentioned that. It's a lot of that, the onus is on you. And, I'd like that you take responsibility. Hey, we messed up too, man, right? It's a team thing. If we mess up, we mess up. Coach Rocky Gonzales, head coach of the Oregon Mountain boys basketball team. Thanks so much for joining us, man. I really enjoyed talking to you. I hope I get to broadcast another one of your games down the line.
Thank you for having us. I think we're going to be in Los Lunas in a couple of weeks. Maybe we'll get to see you over there, huh?
I'd love it, man. It just, I'm here, I'm there. You know, they got me at Western. I'm so many different places. Okay. But you know what, Coach? I got to acknowledge what a privilege it is for me and my son, too, to be able to do these things, man. We're still in the game. Still in the game.
Yes.
Doesn't get any better than that. For producer Jason Paul, I'm Ed Nunez. We'll see you next week on the Sports Desk. Great job, Coach.